Hey, welcome back to another episode of Geek Centurions. Me, your boy Eli,
It's me, Joe.
and we're talking about Halo and Moon Knight tonight in this episode. Moon Knight episode 2 and the newest 2 episodes of Halo, the TV series that's on Paramount Plus. Obviously, we're going to start off with Moon Knight because that's the most recent one, and that's basically the one that's probably going to get us the most interest.
Yeah. I mean, Moon Knight. This new episode of Moon Knight, definitely sort of kicks off pretty well. It definitely we get into some very interesting stuff because I mean we don't necessarily pick off. Pick up where we last left off.
Yeah.
We start at Steven's apartment again, right?
hmm
He's in sleep and he's like, was it all a dream? What was going on?
And it's clearly not a dream because, like, apparently everything went down. But just as and he'll later find this out, is that he can only see what he can see, and no one else can see what he can. But aside from all that fun stuff, we're starting to see like the real effects of having this sort of other personality within his life, the personality of Mark Spector, and how that's kind of like really screwing him around because he finds a lot of stuff, and he's like, "Listen," Mark is like, "Listen, dude, it didn't used to be this way. You used to didn't know. I made sure you were okay, but like now that you're finding out, listen, we're working for Khonshu, who is the Egyptian god of the moon, and we got to do what he says. If not, we're in trouble. More so for me than you. But just I need you just to play along and just like and of course, Steven's like, no, no, I don't want any of this. I want to go back to my normal life and all that kind of stuff. And Khonshu has other things to say about that.
He's like, yeah, he's very much like you're a fool. Give back the scarab. Do not give control to the body to Mark. Uh, and we also learn sort of we get to see a face to the lady that was that Stephen called on that phone that knew about Mark.
Yeah, Layla,
Layla, yeah.
who is the wife of Mark Spector.
Mm-hmm. So that's it's a pretty
Yeah, no. It's more than just like, oh, Stevie is the main person. No, Mark had a life.
yeah.
He had a life. Stevie might be the extra personality you didn't even know. And we're just focusing on him because he might be the newest personality.
Mm-hmm.
And like, just all this like interesting stuff between like is really coming. Steve's life is crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know what's real anymore. He's literally just going like, wait, I have a wife? A wife. When I was just about to go on a date like a week ago with this really hot chick,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're telling me that I got a wife? What? No, impossible.
I mean, yeah, I guess he's and we do see sort of Steven sort of coming to grips with sort of just like, what the hell Mark Spector, what his whole shebang has been about, and like just, like all the crazy stuff he's been doing.
Mm.
Uh, and obviously, I think he sort of gets to see a bit more like other stuff because Layla definitely seems like she doesn't even know about this whole double life thing, or rather, these multiple personalities.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, this has to be a bit, Mark. Just stop. It's like, no, it's not a bit. I'm Steven. You know?
Steven from the gift shop?
Yeah. So it's all kinds of wacky. But then the police start knocking on the door because, I guess, Steven has been fired from his job at the museum because of all the stuff that went down. Because they only see him on the security footage and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, as we later find out in this episode, various things that Steven sees are not seen by regular people.
No, and they make it's quite apparent later on, even more so. But essentially, Ethan Hawke's character, whose name escapes me,
Arthur, I believe.
His people find him, and we start learning his side of the story. that he is a servant of what was her name?
Ahmet.
Amet, and you might have been in league with Khonshu in the past, but they had a falling out, and Khonshu's basically said, "Just kill this dude, man, kill him, just kill him, break his neck, break his windpipe, all this stuff," and it's just like very aggressive, and it's kind of weird how we. This is clear. I mean, there really is a Khonshu. There's really all this stuff going on, but it's so weird how like all this stuff is happening to Steven and Lynn. No one knows what really is going on, right? Because Khonshu is able to like affect the physical plane, right? So what's the extent? What can he do? Can he not kill anyone?
Yeah, it seems more like he needs like, because Mark mentions that Khonshu picked him as his avatar,
Yeah.
which allows him to use, the suit and various other things and all these abilities. So, I guess it's implied that while Khonshu can have some sort of influence on the real world, it's more like he can't physically interact with the real world unless he has like an avatar that can, that can unleash his will, essentially.
Yeah. And so that became really the big sort of interesting part, is that how much like this sort of, I'm gonna call it supernatural because it feels supernatural.
Yeah.
Is kind of working in this world that Mark and Steven live in, and essentially, for not going to full part, we end up getting like a switcheroo kind of stuff going around where Mark is not in control, and can I just say this is probably one of the more. It's a Disney Plus show, yes, and I know they just recently like put in the Netflix shows like Daredevil, Iron Fist, and all that stuff. But like when it was on Netflix, it was a dark show. Like there was some blood and like sex and all that stuff. Here, I mean, you're not gonna get the sex part, right? But like it is like dark in that like the like a TV-14 rating would be like a PG-13 rating dark, right? Like that is like the most dark it can be. And a lot of people, and I know some people are like, but I think it'd be a lot more cooler if it had blood and all this stuff. I'm like, no, just the nuance of it is still effectively dark.
I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. I don't think, I don't think you necessarily need like blood and guts and all that stuff for you to accurately portray certain things. Like that's sort of the one thing I really feel like, because with stuff like Logan and Deadpool, it works. It enhances that experience a bit. It wouldn't work without that stuff. But it's not to say that with Moon Knight you needed it to be that very I guess bloody and stuff, because I mean, given the nature of the MCU, like when you count in the Netflix stuff, it does get dark there, but that's just more like how it sort of is with the sort of street level heroes and stuff. Here we get a bit of that fantastical stuff with this whole Khonshu and the Egyptian gods and stuff like that. And it's overall I think it's a solid depiction, because I feel like what makes Moon Knight more interesting of a character is these various personalities that he has,
and just them in conflict.
Yeah, and like sort of like trying to figure out who's the real like personality, like who's the main personality, who's this and that. And
yeah, it's like, what was the guy's name? Not Tyler Durden, but the original guy of Tyler Durden.
Oh,
Edward Norton's character.
Yeah, I know, from Fight Club.
Yeah. Like we knew he was the original one, and then like he made Tyler Durden as a thing. So it's kind of like that. Like you want to know who's the real person, right? And it's kind of hard to speculate which one it is, and just thinking about like how like kind of messed up that whole situation is, like the lives that he's affected, and all that kind of stuff. it's still there. And but what I mean, like for me, when I say like it's dark in a sense, like there's a point where like it just gets flat out aggressive. Like wow, that's just a really aggressive thing to do, and like it felt real, and it felt like we were just in a different kind of world at the same time, and it didn't have to do with anything with blood or anything like that. It's just like I think it just has to be the tone, right? The tone has been very has what can and some people I feel like are upset with the tone of Moon Knight because sometimes it'll have that sort of Marvel like, hey, it's still fun and jokeful, right? It's like there's all these jokes. There's that joke where Stevie goes, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. My name's Steven with V, Steven with a V," and it's like, oh, that's funny. It takes away from the dark moment, but like, no, it knows how to handle that moment well in both sides. This because like within those contexts of why Steven would do that and why Mark would do what he does, it's clearly like really kind of. I feel like it balances out really well. I don't know what do you think.
I don't know. I feel like it feels more like people just sort of just wanting to make like I don't know. I guess they're I guess I understand why some people are like that, but I don't know. I personally don't see like a lot of at least bits of comedic moments for Moon Knight as much. I mean, like obviously all the comedies with Steven, but that's just because of the way his character is and just how he's interacting with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But once you switch to Mark, it embraces that sort of, I guess, brutality that Moon Knight is able to do. So, I mean, I just don't really
see it as a problem.
Yeah, like clearly, I feel like they're using Steven as sort of a more like have him be the one that handles all the comedic relief bits if they want to use those bits, and have the inner conflict between him and Mark be sort of a more grounded and interesting aspect to the character. So yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm not. I guess I wouldn't say that people are not like wrong to complain. I guess I just find it like, for me, I don't really see as much comedy as I think people are claiming to see.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I get what you're saying because like there's moments of fear in this show, and there's moments of like really some light levity just to like ease it up, but like in context those moments work more than what people I feel would feel or like are against. But aside from that, the episode ends with like Mark taking full control of the body, and Steven being in the sort of I'm gonna call it the mirror world, and that's sort of where we sort of leave off because situations are getting a little more. I guess I think we're gonna go more into Mark's backstory now, because from my understanding of the comics, this story begins in Egypt and we're going to Egypt, so we're bound to find out what Mark's whole storyline is.
I mean, yeah, it does seem like that's the way it's going. I won't lie. It does seem to me that I don't know. It feels like we're kind of moving a bit fast.
It does, and that's my one concern about this show. Right, I think it's only 6 episodes, 6 or maybe 9 episodes. But like, it's this thing that I've been having issues with when it comes to the pacings of these Marvel shows. Some of them are either too quick, too long, or they don't use the time enough well. Right, like WandaVision, I think did it well, but just couldn't do the landing well with that last episode. Loki, I feel, is also come out on the same boat, but you're kind of okay with it because there's a second season coming. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier was too long, in my opinion. I like that show, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed it. But you can clearly tell where some of their storylines were a little too thin. Right? where they needed more time with this story, they needed more time with this story, and they needed more time with this story, kind of stuff. But some people don't agree with me on that. But what other show was out? What If? I think What If was fine. It just didn't like that last episode, how that turned out. Here, it's only 6 episodes, I think. Yeah, it's 6 episodes, and we're already like jumping a little bit. I think maybe 2 more episodes would have done it better than just 6. You know?
Yeah, I get I think I understand what you mean.
And it's granted, it's mostly because like we don't know how it's gonna turn out, but it feels like okay, we're already in Egypt. Okay, all right, sure. I wish they did a little more interesting stuff with this stuff, or maybe we are gonna get it as we go along. I don't know.
I mean, I can't really say to the aspect of like, is it too short or whatever, but I do feel like, at least when it comes to some of the more like major plot elements, we definitely seem to be getting a bit quick on that, because there's definitely stuff that happens here that you're feeling like, oh, this seems like stuff that would be done towards like maybe the end of the second act. But it's already happening here, so I mean, this is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sort of just I guess my only complaint with the show so far is that it does seem like pacing in terms of the plot seems to be a bit of a
pacing for this episode wasn't bad, but the pacing but the potential overall might be bad.
Yeah, but
you can't really state it until it actually is done.
Yeah, because I could be wrong, but it definitely seems like it might turn out that way. I don't know.
No, I 100% agree. I think it's just one of those things where we're gonna have to wait and see. But I will say this: Moon Knight it's been getting good reception. I think for a lot of people this is like what they've been wanting for in terms of like Marvel, like something new, something different, and we're kind of getting that here. And I mean, I had a conversation with a coworker one time. He says that he feels like all the Marvel movies are kind of the same, and to which I'm like, well, they're in the same universe, but he's like talking about story-wise. I'm like, okay, I don't agree with you there because stories are different. They're all sitting around different things. They just have the same kind of beat points. That's it, right?
Yeah,
but they're different stories. But I can explain that another day, but we can just talk about that in its episode by itself. But essentially, this show has been doing a lot of good, and part of it is just the way they're handling these different personalities and just how different the world is becoming, right? And so you wouldn't see anything from Moon Knight interfering with anything big like Spider-Man, Avengers, or obviously they're not going to deal with Guardians or anything like that. But you can kind of see it as its own thing, right? And that's kind of what feels refreshing from it. That it is its own thing. It's kind of like where we were back with the Netflix series, right? With Daredevil, it was kind of the thing that made that show so great was that it felt different. It was darker, it was more adult, and it had like a lot of cool stuff going. It had much more mature themes along there too. And this is kind of the same thing. So it's sort of interesting to see sort of that done here with the Disney on Disney Plus with a more like I said earlier, PG-13 PG rating. And that I think that's where most of the success is. Like, not people didn't expect it for me to be that good, right? Because a lot of people were wondering like, how are you gonna do this? How are you gonna do that? And they did it pretty well. Though I will say, I don't know if you've seen this. People are speculating the fuck out of this show. Like, not like WandaVision level speculation, but like, okay, where the fuck did you even get that? Like, there is like, I remember seeing someone thinking that, oh, what if like all these personalities are actually, different variants of the character, and they're all just like, is the effect of the multiverse? And I'm like, it just no, just stop.
Yeah, it's clearly there's some people that don't know what dissociative personality disorder is. So
or just like this is nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah.
This is to do with just multiple personalities, and that's it. Or like, you know, like maybe Mr. Knight, which is who shows up, is like a variation of Deadpool because they look so similar. Like, no, just shut up. Just be quiet.
Yeah.
You're overthinking things. You're trying to go big brain when there is no big brain to be needed. But yeah, anything else you want to say about the show?
Not really. No, this episode was pretty solid all around. And while I definitely do think there's might be some underlying issues that might come to bear, hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed my time show.
Yeah, and so that leaves us time to go into Halo, and we've got 2 episodes to talk about that. So episode 2, because we did leave episode 1 in a bit of a cliffhanger, where Chief sort of takes the young girl into space to find her a nice place to hide. And by the way, he has his helmet off, which is okay. At this point, it's not even distracting anymore.
Yeah, you get kind of used to it.
How do you feel about that?
Again, like I don't know. I still have mixed feelings about it. I mean, I've gotten used to it.
You understand why?
Yeah, I understand why. It's just I don't know. It's just it's a different direction for the character.
And like we talked about before, it's not like he hasn't never taken off his helmet off.
Yeah,
he's done it before.
Yeah, it's been mostly in like expanded media, like the books or comics or other things. But yeah, if you're like a fan of the Halo games and you never really dove into that other stuff, then yes, it's going to be extremely weird for that to be to do that. Considering, especially that we already we had a show. The Mandalorian.
Which can I just say, thank God it doesn't feel like Mandalorian.
I mean, yeah, I guess that probably is a benefit, maybe. Yeah, probably because obviously it would be like it's just shittier Mandalorian or whatever.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And you want shows to be unique and different and have their own spin on things, but at the same time, like they could have, if there was one thing they would take from the Mandalorian is just how do you have a character with a helmet on for most of its runtime, still be able to be a very interesting protagonist to follow through.
Yeah, and they do it in interesting strides by still giving essentially him a character. Not to say that Chief himself didn't have character, but if you just played the games, it was very like straightforward kind of a characterization. He is action movie man half the time, and that's fine because the whole idea is that you insert yourself, you're doing most of the work. It's really about the relationship between. You're finding it specifically going by the first few games. It's just you finding out all this foreigner stuff, and then later on, sort of like your relationship with Cortana, and all that stuff. And Infinite's a totally different thing too. But aside from the point, it's really more. It does give him a chance to be a character, and while I think you and I agree that we kind of would prefer him if being on a helmet all the time, we get it. It makes sense. We just want more helmet on. That's all we ask. Hopefully by season 2 they'll do it because apparently they're done with season 1.
I mean, yeah, obviously season 1 is done. They're not just making it in over every week.
Yeah, no, that'd be madness.
The CG would look way shittier if that was the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they have a season 2 already, so already booked in. So hopefully, they take various criticisms and feedback that people have given about the show, and they can improve on some of that.
Hopefully, yes. But aside from that, Chief goes to meet, what's his name,
Yes, Soren. I forget his numbers, but he was a Spartan who ran away. He is a character from the lore. I forget if like he actually did some of the stuff that he's been doing currently. I could be wrong. It was in a collection of short stories that I didn't read.
But the name sounded familiar.
But the name sounded familiar, and I vaguely remember that. Yeah, like so he's very much like, I don't like this place. This place, like they're brainwashing us and stuff like that. This is terrible. And him and John were good friends, and I guess initially John was like thinking about leaving with him, but then he's like, no, I can't. And he's like,
we'll get to why that might be the case, but I don't really agree. I don't think that's one person's reading of it, and I don't think that's what's going on. But aside from that, yeah, he goes to Soren. Soren has a life outside in this like colony planet. What is this place?
It's like a weird asteroid belt community where it's where a lot of like not necessarily it's a lot of I wouldn't say illegal stuff happens, but it's very much like it's
some black, not some black market shit, but some like maybe close to black market shit.
It's more like just a smuggler's den, I guess would be a apt term, because clearly nobody here likes the UNSC. They're even like just eyeing up Master Chief and stuff. And but Soren's the big head boss essentially. And yeah, he does have a life. He has a wife. He has a kid, which surprises Chief because he's like, we aren't supposed to be able to,
No, but when you remove the thing that you're able to, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like once you stop taking all those medications and like the various like augments in your body, you're able to live a normal life.
So, do you want to break that down, or do you not want to do that?
I mean, I'm not exactly sure on the levels of how that works. I know that they did that in the lore. They did do a lot of genetic tampering stuff to the Spartans in the Spartan Dude program. That basically did make them not necessarily sterile, but very much just like not have a sex drive. So obviously, like, I mean, I think there was a dumb joke running around that's like, oh, did you know that the Master Chief jacks him off or whatever? And it's like, no, because Chief doesn't even have a sex drive, so he doesn't even need to. I
thought they were chemically castrated.
I mean, kind of. I mean,
it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's been a while. It's not. Point is that whatever logic or reasoning behind it, like that sort of Master Chief doesn't fuck because he just doesn't have the need to. That's sort of the general conception we all got behind. And
clearly they didn't follow that in the show. But you know what? It's fine. Who cares?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I feel like it's more the way of how it's handled in the show. It's more like it was just more like medicine and various stuff that they took, and once you stop taking it, like the effects, don't wear off essentially. I mean, I'm not. It's one of those things where I'm not necessarily
upset about it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something I should like worry myself over it about. I don't think anyone really cares about that change. At least I feel like
nothing they've seen.
Yeah, considering all the other stuff that's been changed and moved around a bit, the ability for Spartans to make kids after after not being on like those drugs and stuff, it's a change that I don't really see rhyme or reason to care about.
But I think the cool thing about it is that Soren seems to have a more not being a robot, while John is kind of a robot. Which is like, yeah, I could see that. Knowing John, he is kind of like straightforward to the task.
I mean, yeah, it's meant to be sort of a dichotomy, right, of how the Master Chief is, and comparing him to like say a Spartan that has you know, gone through some stuff, has a bit more of a personality, various things. But yeah, it's an interesting take. And in the meantime, the UNSC is basically sort of just trying to figure out, all right, where's John? We gotta find him.
We lost a $10 billion project.
Yeah, we lost probably one of our best soldiers. He's on the run. We got to figure out what's
His
going
armor
on.
is worth a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like it's not like a regular person can wear it.
True.
That thing weighs like a ton.
Yeah. As you remember from our last episode talking about Halo.
Yeah, so it's and this sort of is Halsey essentially uses this whole situation to essentially push her own agenda a bit, and
Very Halsey.
very Halsey, of like, I can get John back. However, I think I have a way to make sure he stays
Loyal.
essentially. And it's my Cortana project. And she's just delivering the stuff to all these top UNSC brass, and it's like, it's an advanced AI that can help him achieve the next step in human evolution, make him better, stronger, faster, and most importantly loyal.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen, like, I guess, conflict between her and like her superior, essentially, who she's like, I don't trust this Cortana project, quite frankly.
Seems a little inhumane.
Yeah. And they mentioned that like the only way to make it like fully work was through the use of flash cloning a brain or whatever.
Yeah, which is why we have that weird lookalike of Halsey down there.
A weird bubble. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's sort of generally.
And to go on to your point, like, it's weird because, like, from what you understand of the lore, that's not how they did the cloning. That's not how they did AIs, right?
Yeah, like AIs in the Halo universe are divided into two distinctions. You got dumb AI, which is basically sort of like what we would be able to make AI be in the modern day.
Yeah, they're like, hi, how are you, Steve?
Well, and not necessarily that. Like, I guess a good example that we see in the games is the superintendent from Halo 3 ODST. It doesn't really have it has a bit of a personality, but it doesn't. One, it can't communicate on its own. It uses various other means and stuff to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And two, its main functions
is to run a city.
Is to run a city. It doesn't have like. With Cortana, she's like a smart AI, which is like has a human, like has her own personality essentially. Mm-hmm. She makes quips and all that stuff.
We'll see more of this in the next one.
Yeah. She runs various different types of processes. Like, she's just like a supercomputer with she's like a person that has the brain of a supercomputer essentially. That is what smart AIs are.
Mm-hmm. And they only last for 7 years.
And that's sort of their thing, because all that computing and all that stuff, sort of runs them out essentially, and they enter this stage called rampancy, where they essentially just not necessarily go killer robot, but they're very much unstable and just like think themselves to death.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Halo lore, I'm pretty sure what they usually. To get like a smart AI, you really only had to like do like a brain scan of like a regular person, or and use that as like a copy, and then like build an AI around it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, yeah, as we're gonna find out very soon, is Cortana is definitely based off of Halsey, at least her brain scan.
And so yeah, they basically they give her the let go, but there are also some people are like, yeah, we need to keep an eye on Halsey, and we gotta make sure we also get information, because she ain't gonna give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, heck, Miranda hears that pretty much when John gets back, like, Halsey's gonna get first dibs on the artifact, and she's like, that's not fair.
That's actually my job. What the fuck?
And it's like, their superiors is like, listen, all right,
I know.
I get it, but like, listen, I ain't got time to deal with this.
My hands are tied.
Yeah.
I gotta deal with John. Halsey's bullshit. I know you're being wrong, and I know it's also your mom, but god damn it, I can't do shit.
Yeah, more or less, and we do have an interaction back on the with Master Chief and Soren, that he knows a guy who's hanged out with the Covenant, because that's sort of the other reason why John has arrived, is that he has the artifact, and he needs to figure out what the hell this is.
Yeah.
And he talks to this guy. He's a bit of a crazy person because he's been living with the Covenant for a bit.
A little too crazy.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's a bit of overacting.
Mm-hmm.
But he's we see John interact with the object again, and this is where this man has this whole I guess doomsday speech prepared of you are the one who can activate it.
Yeah.
They're looking for it. And he's like, what? What are they looking for? The ring, What is this ring? It will cause an end to all life as we know it.
How the fuck does he know that?
I mean, I don't know.
Because, that's my only issue with that whole moment, is that... Because the Covenant kind of sort of don't know. And the humans definitely don't know. What? Until they find Halo.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I there's only one maybe logical reason as to why he says that.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think it's
improbable
to say that this guy who's I guess been hold prisoner or whatever, maybe he knows that the ring, which is it's Halo. They're talking about Halo. He knows that it's an important object in the Covenant religion, and that activating it will start the great journey, which is the Covenant sent. They're a way of ascending to the heavens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think it could be interpreted as him when he says that is that the Halos will when they find the Halo and activate it, it will be the end of their way of life.
Oh, so you're saying context clues?
I guess. Granted, Chief immediately thinks it's a weapon, and it's going to, they're going to use it to destroy all humanity, which technically he's not wrong. Because the thing is that they hear about this ring or whatever, and they say the Covenant really want it. You're gonna assume it's some sort of weapon. I mean, heck, in the first Halo game, they talk about the Covenant just being super crazed up about the Halo ring, and it's they're like, it's a weapon, and they're like, okay, let's try to activate Halo first, so that we can get rid of these Covenant. Because if the Covenant want it, that means it has to be some sort of weapon, and we got to stop them from using it against us. So we might have to use it against them. But then obviously through the course of the Halo games, it's like, oh no, Halo's a weapon that kills all intelligent life. We're all fucked. You just gotta stop the Halo ring from firing.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And to be fair, they go a bit into it in this newest episode, third episode, where all these UNSC brass are like, if the Covenant want this thing and it's a weapon, we might be able to use it against them.
Did they say that? I don't remember them saying that.
Well, I mean, they have big interests. I'm
in
pretty
the ring,
sure.
got it.
In this so-called ring that they're talking about. So because clearly, if it's important to the Covenant, then the UNSC is going to be like, all right, we need to figure out what this is.
Yeah, we need to find it.
But yeah, with that sequence, Chief decides to go back to UNSC. He leaves Quan with Soren, Even
Oh
though
yeah,
Quan's like, no, I want to, you can't just leave me here. It's like, listen, this is the only place you're safe. You got a bounty on your head. It's like, you just, you just stay here
yeah.
cause I got a job to do.
And Soren's kind of shitting on him too.
Yeah, it's just, oh, you're running back to halls. You're running back to mama, right? It's like, listen, man, if this so-called ring thing is like serious threat, there's literally no one that can stop it except us.
Also, can I trust you with? Yeah, you can trust me, buddy. I'm gonna just shat on you. I was like, wait, what? Hold up now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the mark of a good friend. Soren will call it people out on their bullshit, but he still cares enough about them to, keep promises.
Fair enough. It's weird that he talks about the Halsey John relationship because I think we talked about it in the last episode. There was a very like mother son kind of relationship there going on. Like you said earlier, like you said in the last one. Halsey was very attached to all the Spartan 2s. But just John was like a real special case.
Yeah, and to be fair, they mentioned. I feel like it has been mentioned by other Spartans before, in other media, where like, oh, John was always her favorite or whatever. So it's not that big of a. It's not that weird to me that a Spartan would just call out on being like, oh, you're just
Your mom's favorite.
yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I guess the way it was interpreted for me was really weird, but no, I know in the context what it means, but also yeah, it just felt really weird. But it's also funny because like in here, Pablo Schreiber, who's the guy who plays John, is a really good actor because when he reunites with Halsey and just the way these two interact, really, it's very much like a mother child kind of situation.
Yeah, more of like, yeah, because when John goes back, they find him, they strip him of his armor and stuff. He's put in a cell essentially, and Halsey just comes in until they're just like, so why'd you do the things you did? Like, she acts like a bit of like a concerned and but also stern parent.
Yeah, and I just like the way she just sits like above him, sort of like to indicate like not just power but like just how much of authority that she has, like, or just how much respect that John has for her, right? Like he sees her above a lot of stuff, and just the slight body language that John has, just like the way he moves, is like he seems like a kid, right? Like a kid listen like, but mommy, I didn't do the bad thing kind of stuff, right? Well, not like I didn't do it. Well, you see, mom, the thing is, kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Just the body language in there. I was like, oh, okay, I kind of like where this is going, right? It's really interesting to see how this sort of interaction, something that we kind of always knew about those characters, and just done this way. And yeah, no, they are interested, and then they're gonna go through with the whole Cortana thing. And by the way, remember, whenever Chief touches the artifact, he gets visions of the past.
Yeah.
Which is the main crutch of the next episode, which is like, what am I looking at? What is going on?
Yeah, and to be fair, it's also a bit of also what Halsey's like kind of interested in, because like John mentions it that he's been seeing visions and stuff, and she's like, she at first she's a bit dismissive about it, like, oh, let's not talk about that now. But she clearly is like definitely interested because it's like, what exactly is he seeing? Will that be a harm to all the stuff I've been doing?
Yeah, because remember, as we said before, Halsey's involved in a lot of what would be not war crimes, but like crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's what she did. Kidnapped and exploited children to be, killing machines and kill some children along the way. Aside from that, she did some good. She made jobs. She saved the world. She will always point out, like, listen, I fucked up, and you know what? I saved the world. I helped save the world. And I'm like, sure, lady, sure. But that's sort of one of the reasons why we get the Cortana system. Or, as the way I'm going to call it, just Cortana. And they went through a whole process. They cloned her. They're gonna like poke her eye out to get to the brain, and it's not as gory as I make it sound, but it's still pretty gross.
Yeah, and this is the start of the third episode, by the way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can I just say though, what is up with her assistant? Why is he so weird and creepy to me?
I do not know. I do not have an answer for that.
I'm not the only one who thought he was creepy when he first showed up. Am I right?
No. I don't think so.
Okay, and just man tried to kiss his boss's clone. That's just what?
I don't know.
I hope to see not much. I hope he's not in this much more. I hope that's it. I hope that was just a one-time thing. I hope so. I hope. But we get through the cloning and we meet Cortana, who is played by Jen Taylor.
Well, she's definitely she's modeled obviously off of Halsey, the actor in this show, but she is voiced by Jen Taylor, who is the original Cortana voice actor. And yeah, like I will. She does what she does good.
Okay. Do you want to talk about her design?
I mean, we can talk a little bit about it. It's definitely different because, to be fair, Cortana has gone through at least a bit of design overhauls throughout the years. Like in the original Halo, she was like
Short-haired purple.
yeah. I mean, she's always had short hair.
Well, no, but the Combat Evolved had her with shorter hair.
Okay, fair enough.
She had like a more bob cut, reaching to the shoulders in later games. But she had like a really short hair, like behind the ears kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, she had a purple hue to her and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And from Halo 2 and 3, she gets her like iconic blue sort of look
Right,
to
because in
her.
Halo 2, she still had a bit of a purple, but it was more of a bluish purple. Like a purple to blue kind of thing.
No, she was straight blue in Halo 2.
No, she was purple.
No, in Halo 1 she's purple.
No, but she had a bit of purple tint in her. Continue. I'll look this up.
But point is, and that's sort of like, I guess, Halo 2 and 3 is her iconic sort of look. And then in Halo 4 they definitely update her a little bit, at least in terms of like a bit of her hairstyle and stuff like that. And in Halo 5 she gets a bit more like, I guess, an armored look to her, but that's just considering what her role is. It's still blue.
Just purple.
Like blue though. Look at that.
All right, sure.
But anyways, it's more of like the design
Yeah,
aspect I'm going for because that they stick with that design.
yeah. And when you get to 4 and 5, which is like just a drastic art style change, she still has that sort of blue skin kind of thing going on. 5, she's got like a blue suit. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, no, I was just talking about that. Like,
I was looking up the thing. I'm sorry.
yeah, I know you were. And yeah, I think it's more of just her role at that point. Like she has. Not to get too much into the story of Halo 5 because it's already weird. I'm pretty sure that half of it was just for because she was just sort of taking on this role of not necessarily villain, but or whatever. So here, like, they kind of give her like she has that bit of like blue tint to her, but she doesn't have like, I guess what we could call blue skin or whatever.
No, she still has a very human thing to her.
Yeah, she has a very human look to her. Like,
And it's not terrible. Not as much as people thought when the trailer came out. Because I remember when the trailer came out, we saw Cortana, and they're like, "Oh no, this looks terrible." But throughout the episode, it wasn't so bad.
I think, yeah. Granted, I think half of it just has to do with the fact that it is mostly CG. It's not like a human actor that they add special effects to make it look AI-ish or like give her an AI look. It is just a straight up 3D model that they're working with. So there is a bit of uncanny value to her. Although I think they do well enough to like keep it out of there for most shots. And yeah, Jen Taylor does great. Obviously.
Oh no, they just told her to be Cortana, and she was Cortana.
Yeah, which I will that's probably one of the good points or saving graces of the show so far is that Cortana not only has her original voice actor, but she more or less does have she more or less acts like how Cortana would act.
Very sly.
Yeah, she has her quips. She has her sort of like interesting kind of thing. John, however, is very much.
I don't like this.
Yeah, because because like I said earlier, Halsey is it's her way of like proving to the UNSC top brass that hey, this is my way of trying to make sure John stays on task and whatever. And John, Master Chief is just like, Ika, I don't really need a babysitter, It's not a babysitter, but trust me, she'll help you out, all right? And it's an interesting dynamic that they're gonna, I guess they want to try to put, because I know in the original Halo stuff, like for the most part, when Master Chief does meet Cortana, like he's not really bothered by it that much. He's more like, it's a little weird, but as long as as long as you help me out in the field, it doesn't really matter to me.
But she's so like trying to assert herself into the world. Like there's a moment where Chief talks to like his squad, and then he's like, "All right, guys, it's missed." And then Cortana's like, "Hi, I'm Cortana. How you doing?"
I mean, yeah, and she's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I just, I just want to introduce myself to everybody. And it's like, get out of here.
It's like, but, just gonna walk away. Or like fade away.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. This is very much Cortana. She's like, she'll assert herself immediately into stuff. It's not like a bad thing, but it's more like, okay, hey, Cortana here. How you doing? I'm just here to help out. I'm just gonna do it anyway. It's like, and she's like, "What are you talking about? I'm here to help." Like she will snap at them too, like not like a quick like snap at them, but it's more like under the breath snap, and it's just so funny. It's so Cortana, and seeing that, especially with Jen Taylor, I think you're right. It does make it a little more acceptable. Like, okay, yeah, no, this is right. This feels right, and obviously Cortana is doing whatever she can to help out Chief. Especially under the orders of Halsey. She even gets him to help. She even helps out John get rid of his little pallet thing or whatever, the thing on his back.
Yeah, like which inhibits his emotions.
Yeah, and like he goes out into the world and like sort of sees everything in a different light. I wish it was shot a little better, but it's kind of nice how just the conversations he has with Cortana being like, this is weird to me and stuff, kind of like, because he's like, I never actually listened to music before until now, and it sounds beautiful. It's like, oh, it's a very human moment for Chief. And as all of this is happening, we got to remember about the sword and Quan thing.
Yeah, and Quan's very much she keeps seeing news about, Madrigal and, like, how shitty it is. And it's like, I can't just be staying here. I gotta go out there. I gotta go, liberate my planet and stuff.
And I'm just like, but how the fuck are you gonna do that, little girl?
It's like, there's still people loyal to my father. If I can just go over there and, convince them to join me, we can take back Madrigal and stuff and fight for our freedom. And it's sort of like...
I like how everyone's like, you're being stupid.
Yeah, like, Soren's wife is like, listen, all right? You were, you have a second chance at life, all right? Covenant killed your parent, your dad and stuff. All right, just try to, like, live for yourself. Don't get stuck in the past. And, because she had, like, a conversation in the second episode, too, where she was like, revenge isn't always the best way,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
And Quan is and granted, I understand where Quan is coming from, but it's just very like stuck in one sort of emotion that makes me kind of like not be as interested in her story as much, even though it's like not a bad idea for her to have. But essentially, it just ends up with her and Soren just going to Madrigal and getting like all those trying to get all that support, and we already know it's not gonna work.
I mean, it's gonna be, it's probably not gonna work. I mean, because she has to deal with, because what is it? The current leader, yeah, he's basically a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, as long as the UNSC can get some of that rich resources from that planet, they don't really care. Which, I mean, to be fair, that's kind of that's a bit of a weird political undertone there when you think about it.
I mean, when has the UNSC not been involved in political undertones?
Fair enough. But yeah, Soren basically sort of was like,
all right,
fine,
I'll give up.
I'll take it there. I mean, either because he's like, I'll pay you with all the Durithium, like this world's version of oil.
I mean, wait, what? Say that again.
Durithium.
Ah, yes, I'll take that.
Yeah, well, he was saying that, but also more of like, I mean, listen, either way, it's either I take you there and you pay me in Durithium, or I take you there and I just
turn you in because
turn you in for the bounty. Yeah, so
you're worth a lot of money.
So I guess I technically win either way. So
And yeah, so that's the end of that point of the story. Oh yeah, the Covenant chick. We find out about her backstory. She was abused as a child by humans and was saved by the Covenant and raised by them.
Yes, because they were like, we were trying to find this artifact or whatever, and their magic glowing stick glowed the most to her, and it's like, oh, this creature is the one we're looking for. Let us go. Mm-hmm. And she tries to enact her plan of like boarding a UNSC ship and using it to get to find out where they took the relic,
mm-hmm.
And stuff. I mean, granted, she has a pretty decent plan about it. They have a Covenant
battle cruiser,
a Corvette show up with engines down, and she's like, I'm the only one here, I'm the last survivor, please save me. And they're like, all right, let's do this. They bring a drone pod. She comes in, they like search for a bit just in case, and it's like, all right then, you're safe now, miss. It's like, thank you. And then all these worms and stuff come out and just start killing everybody on board. Which, I mean, I remember from like people saying in the trailers, like, oh my god, she has like tentacle powers, what is this weird shit going on? And it's like, oh no, these are the hunter worms.
Yeah, because they show off the hunter legs.
Yeah, they show off like as she's in the Covenant Corvette. We see this hunter, and it's slowly like falling apart and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes way more sense than having some weird lady with tentacle powers in the Halo universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's
also like, a little more lore accurate.
Definitely more lore accurate.
Which I can't remember when I found out that the hunters were actually a bunch of worms.
Yeah, they're like the hunters are like a worm race, like these like little worms that will form up together to create things, and that's what the hunters are. They also form the giant scarabs, which are these giant like Covenant weapons. They're essentially like fire lasers and stuff. Yeah, those worms are very versatile.
Those worms are crazy as hell.
Yeah, they're very versatile, those worms.
Yeah, they can do anything. But yeah, she's trying to find it, but can't find shit. Because Cold Protocol, which is an actual lore thing.
Yeah, and I like that,
That's small attention to detail.
Well, it's used very effectively because the Cold Protocol in the lore is a mandate that where essentially if a UNSC ship or hell a planet is essentially about to be overtaken by the Covenant, they enact Cold Protocol, which basically erases all of the data, or at least like locks data, or just it's basically just sort of a torch and burn tactic for the UNSC of like just torching and burning all their stuff, because they fear that if the Covenant get any information on Earth, you
Oh,
know,
we screwed.
yeah, you know, we're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, yeah, it was sort of, it's their way of like essentially covering their tracks for Earth.
To keep Earth safe. So like,
Yeah,
so they don't want to. They don't want them to find where exactly they're at, because if they find where Earth is, they're just like, that's just last stronghold, baby.
yeah,
We got nothing left to protect. But yeah, no. After that, John gets more memories, and in those memories, he finds out he might know where this artifact might be connected, and it might be back at his home planet.
hmm
And so Halsey reluctantly, but she agrees to take him back there. And John looks like he's gonna find out his whole past, which is the thing that we've talked about. Is this show gonna talk about the fact that all of that the Spartans were again abducted children, forced into military service, and in military indoctrination and all this sort of like testing and stuff like that. So we don't know. Maybe we'll see. But I'll say this: the Halo show is surprisingly getting better for me.
yeah, yeah. I think it's getting. I'm sort of like. I've done my best to like see it with open eyes a bit, or at least like not very judgmental, and it's a different take. And so far, the various changes they've made, I am not truly against. Well, they're not. They're not making me feel like they're bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
More like interesting decisions.
Yeah, and it all depends on how they landed. Because like, apparently, because in from my understanding, when it comes to the Forerunner artifacts, anyone with a human touch can activate them, right?
Yeah, like you just need like any human can just activate Forerunner technology.
Mm-hmm. But here it's like you have to be chosen or have to have a certain genetic makeup for it to work.
I mean, I guess it seems like that. Like it seems like you need to be a certain like I don't know. Like it's only a small amount of humans are able to like uh activate Forerunner stuff, which I guess in terms of storytelling, I guess it just makes it more yes, chosen one narrative kind of thing.
Mm.
Uh,
But I wouldn't say chosen one because I guess it depends on the person.
yeah,
Like imagine if Miranda was able to activate the object.
mm-hmm.
Then it'd be like, oh, so it has to be like certain people, not like the entire race.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes sense. It kind of, but I gotta see how well it's executed before giving them my full okay.
I mean, at the same time, I feel like how it is in the games just makes probably it works well because if the Forerunners did leave their technology for the humans, then it would make way more sense to just allow all humans to be able to use it.
True, yeah.
Select few.
That actually doesn't make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not against it, but I need to see how it's executed. But I do agree with the way they explained it in the game made a lot more sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's basically the end of the episode. It's like I said, it's a good it's getting there. I think maybe in time it'll be a better show. Like we said earlier, maybe by season 2 they listen to all the criticism and fix it and be a better show. Because there is a making of a good show there. The CG is really good. The acting is really good. The sets look nice for the most part. And I really mean by for the most part because sometimes they all look just very bland. But then again, that's just how it is sometimes with TV shows because it feels like it has a TV show budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just all the money went into the CG, and everything else was more TV budget wise.
I don't know. Like Game of Thrones is TV technically, right?
Yeah, but that's also HBO money.
So you're saying Paramount doesn't have HBO money?
No, of course not.
But they own Universal Studios.
Yeah. And look where all that money's being moved to. Fast and Furious.
Yeah, but I mean, the Harry Potter land
Yeah, but who
it
owns Harry
be
Potter?
it beats out any Disney park.
Yeah, but like Disney's Disney though.
Yeah, but then Disney decided that the best way to compete with Harry Potter land was to make an Avatar land. Where's the logic in that?
I don't know,
Exactly.
but also, Harry Potter's owned by Warner Bros. So technically they win at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, Warner Brothers could have put it in a Six Flags park, but they didn't.
Fair enough. I don't know where that was going, but anyways, yeah, no. Hopefully the show does get better. It has the makings, like I said, for it to be a good show. We just need to wait and see. But that's the end of this episode. And if you guys enjoyed what you heard, please sure to follow us on all social medias on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. At the Geek Centurions, we're most active on Instagram. And you'll find a link tree to all the podcast sites we're officially part of, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Pandora. All of the like. And a link to the YouTube for all your audio listeners out there who want to put a face to the voice. If you go on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell icon, all that good stuff that you tend to know YouTube to have. Also, have a link to our Patreon that we used to support in any form of way. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Halo, Moon Knight, they're both really good shows. Moon Knight more. Hope to see what more Moon Knight we'll come back to at some point. Same thing with Halo, we'll come back to at some point. And yeah, it's been a good episode. You got anything to say, Jay?
No, I'm just curious as to how each of these shows turn out. Because Moon Knight, I think, has already been pretty good so far, and hopefully it can maintain
That pace.
that pace and stuff, and be a good show all the way to the end. And hopefully Halo, showing good strides.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it can turn out to be decent at the end.
Yeah, well, that's all we can hope for. Anyways, it's been me, your boy Eli,
It's been me, Joe.
and you guys have a good one. Peace.